Hello, and welcome back. Or if this is your first time, well, just welcome, I suppose. On New Year's Eve and into a little bit of New Year's Day, I made a video which I talked about a whole bunch of reasons why 2016 sucked. Specifically, sucked for me. Um, And it's funny because the largest complaint I get about my videos is that they're too long, right? Like when I did the Water Bear Brigade episode with Pike and Blaze, we made a 3.5 hour video on circumcision, and we had like 30 different links to scientific sources in the down below for everything we talked about, backing up everything each one of us said. And while that's one of the most popular Water Bear Brigade episodes I've done, I lost 3 followers, 3 subscribers to my YouTube channel for the Fuck You 2016. And 2016 really fucking sucked for me. If it was great for you, I'm happy for you. I really am. And I think one of the reasons I guess that video did so poorly is because some of the people I follow on Twitter have followed me onto YouTube, and they didn't like that I didn't like that Trump was elected president. Now, about a day later, I was over the fact that he got elected. You know, he's my president, or he will be my president come January 20th. Fine, I accept that. He was voted in by the Electoral College. Fine, I have no problem with that. He was, he's legally the president. I don't like it, but there it is. The people have spoken, and I think that people should be listened to. You can talk about the popular vote all you want, but if you notice, it's very small sections of, the U.S. map that voted for Hillary. Right? So she won the popular vote, fine, but there's a reason the Electoral College exists. And it's so that we don't have mob rule. And, for better or for worse, and I think it's for better, we have this system. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is another thing that people seem to have a problem with was people said, oh, 2016 sucks because a bunch of rich actors died. No, it sucks because it's the death of part of our childhood. It's the death of the things, as we got older, enriched our lives. Just a few minutes ago, I was going back and forth with a follower of mine on Twitter over History of the World Part 1, right? Because out of nowhere, she posted a quote from it. And I made a response. She goes, have you seen the movie? Have you seen this movie? And the first thing I responded to her with was, no, him. I think it's a him. I keep seeing as Heather, but it's heathens greetings. And I think this is a male because I think they said something about their wife or something. So I think maybe the person I was talking to was a male, but this might be a shared account. I don't know. At any rate, I said, I have brought you the 10 commandments. And the person just, like 3 crying, laughing emojis. So then we started talking about Young Frankenstein and, other. I mentioned one of Madeline Kahn's lines, and I love this from History of the World's Part 1. And it was so perfectly written, and it was so perfectly executed by Madeline Kahn. And the line goes like this: a young, I guess, centurion. He kneels down to the Empress, which is Madeline Kahn, and he goes, "What must I use to bait your love?" And she goes, "Ah, but the servant waits while the masturbates." Yeah. Uh, checking her own words and realizing what she's saying. Obviously she knew the words beforehand, right? But the way she executed that all of a sudden smile on her face was just a perfect twinge, to the movie. And I remember when she died back in, I think 2001, right? At the time she was doing the Bill Cosby show, the latest one, which was started, I think, in 99, maybe 98. But yeah, his late 90s, early 2000s Bill Cosby show, where I guess he was working for the airport, working some stand for so many years, and then they laid everybody off. And in the first episode, Bill Cosby's talking about how, oh, it's racism. His wife goes, they laid off 30,000 people. He goes, that's just a cover up. Bill Cosby's always been one of my favorite TV actors as well. I thought he was good in Ghost Dad, right? I like that movie. It was a little kooky, but it's Bill Cosby. You expect it to be a little kooky. When I was a little child, I listened to all his these tapes of his stage performances, and I used to watch a little bit of Kids Say the Darndest Things. He brought that back for a little while, and the thing of it is John Belushi, one of the Blues Brothers, right? Jake and Elwood. I even had this stupid little computer game, right? The DOS computer game that had almost nothing to do with them. And it could have been, and they could have just changed the sprites a little bit, and you'd never fucking know it was, what it was based on, right? But it was just, I love the fucking Blues Brothers. They were so funny, and John Belushi's death, even the family apparently says, according to this woman at my church, says that the wrong brother died. And she was talking about how James Belushi is an asshole and all this other stuff, and it's kind of that never meet your heroes kind of thing. But after him was John Candy, who was in the movie Spaceballs with Mel Brooks and Bill Pullman and Joan Rivers and so many other great names like Rick Moranis, and there's so many funny lines in that movie. And John Candy was great in that film, and when he died, I was like, we're never going to see Spaceballs 2. We never saw History of the World Part 2. I want to see Hitler on Ice. I want to see a Viking's funeral. But Mel Brooks has already got 2 legs into the grave. He's just, reaching on with that last hand or whatever. They made Spaceballs the cartoon, and that was absolute trash. Just, I was disgusted by it. And it really saddened me when Gene Wilder died. I was like, fuck me. And this is one of these people. Well, I called up my biological mother, and I told her that he just died, and that hit her like a rock too. And I called her when Robin Williams died, and there's not going to be any more Robin Williams films. I don't give a flying fuck that they're rich. I don't give a shit how much money they have. I don't. I care about the characters that they portrayed and that only they can portray, because they became those roles. We're not talking people who play the same role over and over and over and over again, right? We're talking about people who embodied the characters. When they were bringing back Futurama, right? And they said, well, they're going to use different voices because they needed it to be cheaper. Because, it was already going to cost them, because of the production and the writing staff and, everything else. that it was already going to be, you know, hella expensive, that the only way that they was going to do it originally was with new voiceovers. The fan base just erupted with like, then don't make it, because we're not going to watch it. You know, we're in love with the voices as well, right, as the characters, because the voices are the characters, right? The reason why sequels fail so much is because they do not use the original actors. If you want a successful sequel, right, it's got to be a continuation of the first movie, and you have to have the same actors. There are some exceptions to this rule, right? But they still keep in some line with it. Like Ace Ventura, right? The second one was so much better than the first one. But they kept true to Ace Ventura's character, and they kept the same actor. If they had made Ace Ventura When Nature Calls with someone other than Jim Carrey, the movie would have flopped. If you've ever seen the Never-Ending Story, again, a classic fucking story that we've, you know, people of my generation have been in love with because of how much wonder and awe and inspiration it's brought to us, right? And then when I did that New Year's movie or video, right, on YouTube, one of the names I forgot to mention it because I get a little nervous doing these things. I forgot to mention Christopher Williams died. And for those of you who don't know, he played Father Mulcahy on MASH. I've watched every episode of MASH. I love that show. I love Alan Alda's character. I liked Alan Alda when he was in What Women Want. I liked the guy who played Trapper. I liked the guy who played um, Colonel T. Potter, right? And he was also in Inherit the Wind, the remake with Jack Lemmon, who, again, I remember dying about the same time Madeline Kahn did. His last movie was Tuesdays with Morey. I love Jack Lemmon's roles. I love the way he portrayed them. You know, even when he played that president movie, My Fellow Americans. And, you know, I wasn't a big fan of The Dirty Grandpa, but I was, you know, he was in Some Like It Hot. He was in The Apartment, which is one of my favorite roles he was in. He was in 12 Angry Men, I believe the remake. These are great fucking movies. Oh, he was also in Inherit the Wind, the remake, not the original. And the guy who was in it with him, he died in '99. The guy who played the opposing lawyer. You know, you know, philosophies and ideas that you know, that inspired me, that made me laugh, that shook me out of some real hardcore fucking depression. That's why so many people were saddened when Robin Williams committed suicide, because he had made so many people laugh and cry for so long. You know, with What Dreams May Come, and with Patch Adams. And you know, these deaths, they hit us because, you know, when these actors die, we know we're never going to see them again. They're literally in our homes. I have over 200 videos on VHS still of some of the greatest movies ever made. I have the fucking Monty Python series. I don't even need to watch those movies, and I still know every fucking line because they're so fucking brilliant. Especially Search for the Holy Grail. Search for the Holy Grail is the best Monty Python film, but the best beginning is in The Meaning of Life, right? And the best ending is The Life of Brian. Okay, okay. The Meaning of Life has angels with like like boobs showing everywhere, and that's really in it. And like they're singing about the latest video games in heaven, and it's a great ending. But I don't know. There's something about singing about the bright side of life while you're being killed by the Romans. It fucking kills me every time. I love these movies. Like they've enriched my life in ways that I can't even begin to calculate. You know, no matter how bad things were, these movies could make me laugh. And my life has been pretty fucking awful at times. I mean, for fuck's sake, I've been homeless 3 goddamn times. And these movies made it better. Movies like Secondhand Lions and Paying It Forward. These aren't just movies to me, right? They're epic stories that we, you know, it's like back in the olden days, right? The real olden days where you'd sit and listen to like the head storyteller of the village, and he'd have all these mythical stories for you. Like in the 2,000 years ago or so, you had no, farther than that, much farther than that. You had you know you had stories like Oedipus, and you had stories um, like the Odyssey, right? Where Homer would just be sitting there, telling you these epic fucking tales. And now, and today, we have another Homer who for over 25 years has been making us laugh, and that's Homer J. Simpson. And these stories have become, part of us in one way or another. So I think I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to risk copyright infringement. I hope I don't get a copyright strike, but here we go.
Well, I'm certainly grateful for this magnificent turnout, and now
Have a beautiful and wonderful 2017. Like Groucho Marx, I must be going.